couple of things we have to clean up.
Interesting.
So yesterday, part of the narrative, because it was reported by Joel Sherman and by Andy Martino, was that Juan Soto's agent, Scott Boras, went back to the Yankees and asked if they'd like to match the Met offer. Well, at 12:45 in the morning, this morning, I got a text from Scott Boras because people had aggregated it from us talking about it on the show as if I was reporting it on my own reporting when I very clearly said that it was Joel and it was Andy, two guys that I really respect.
We always give credit.
Right. Otherwise, something like this could happen. Mm-hmm. But he sent me a screenshot of somebody reporting that Michael Kay said, which was an aggregation of what was said on the air. And so they left out that Michael Kay and Don and Peter said because Joel and Andy had written it. Well, Scott wanted it known at 12:38 in the morning that is absolutely not true. We never went back to the Yankees. The only phone call I made was to Cashman telling him that Juan Soto was, in fact, going to sign with the Mets. I never asked him to match. That is not true. The reporting is not true. And since he texted me at 12:38 in the morning, it has been cleaned up by Joel and by Andy Martino. So they never did give them an opportunity to match. Now, that could be a little bit of word salad, if you will, where I think that Scott knew the Yankees were at the end. That was it. That was as far as they were going to go. So why go back to them and give them an opportunity to match, which they wouldn't have done? So this way, without going back and asking, when you knew that they were done, you just say, hey, he took the Mets. So that leaves that narrative that's still out there. Well, he took the Mets because of all the great things that the Mets represent, and he didn't get with the Yankees. So that's one thing. Second thing is MLB Network is broadcasting live from the winter meetings. And their guest at 2:38 p.m. was supposed to be Brian Cashman. Now, Brian does not miss appointments, but he had to cancel at the last moment, which would lead you to believe that something's cooking with the Yankees. They are supposedly very interested in Kyle Tucker, who I don't understand why the Houston Astros would even make him available via trade, and I'm not sure that the Astros would trade Kyle Tucker to the Yankees, but boy, what a great pivot that would be, as Kyle Tucker is an outstanding player, and he's also very young. He's 27 or 28 years old, so that's out there. It's also out there that Max Fried has narrowed it down to the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays to sign with them, so the Yankees could be in play there. It's also being reported that the Yankees now are having discussions with the first baseman, Christian Walker. I've always been a proponent of that. He's a great defender, but he is a right-handed batter, and he is older. So the only way that works is if, in fact, you give him a 2-year deal so that at some point Aaron Judge could end up translating into a first baseman. So those are some of the things going on right now on the Yankee end. The Mets are waiting for Juan Soto, who's going through his physical today, and they will have the official announcement tomorrow. So that's where it stands right now. I would think that the winter meeting's ending at the end of the business day tomorrow. Guys, the Yankees have to do something because I'm sure they're in on the trade market, but there are free agents out there as well. And we'll see who they go after. So it looks right now like Walker's in play. They supposedly have inquired about Bellinger. They've inquired about Tucker. Tucker would be the dream scenario, but you'd have to give up Dominguez. You'd probably have to give up a guy like Luis Gil and the problem with all of that, if you're going to give up Dominguez and you're going to give up Luis Gil, you're going to get a guy, I think we've lived through this before, who's in the final year of his contract. I don't think I would make a deal with the Astros giving up that much collateral unless, in fact, they're allowed to sign him to a long-term deal. Because why would you risk having Soto 2? The sequel doesn't make sense. Now, the Yankees wouldn't have to be bidding against Steve Cohen probably, But there would be teams that would be interested in Kyle Tucker. So I don't know if I'd make that deal sending that type of talent to Houston unless you can make the deal with Tucker before he's traded here. So that's what I know starting off the show. How about that?
But it is interesting, Michael, that you had to start off the show with exactly what the reports did the Yankees get a chance to match and all that, because people just seem to be hung up, Met fans and Yankee fans, on whether or not Juan Soto just went for the money. Does it really matter? If you're a Met fan, does it matter? Now, he's going to have this press conference when he passes his physical, and he's going to tell you why he wants to go to the Mets and they're a young, vibrant organization that he feels like can take the world. We know he took the money. And, Michael, if he went back to the Yankees, it was going to be because of money. And would the Yankee fans feel bad for that? Now, they might have shrouded themselves in, he loved the bleacher creatures and he loved hitting with What is so wrong with just saying that the Mets won because they had more money?
I'm going to tell you why.
It doesn't change the fact that he is going to be in my lineup in 2025 helping my team win. Why do we have to apologize for that?
I'm going to tell you why. And as a Met fan, you could tell me if I'm right. I think that Met fans want it to be seen as if he looks at the Mets as having a brighter future than the Yankees, and he liked everything about the Mets. There are things about the Yankees, like the suite situation, and supposedly the incident with his mom not being allowed in a certain area of the stadium. The Met fans want it to be not about the money, because the Met fans have always criticized the Yankees about buying championships. So I think they want to just put a little bit of a governor on that, where, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about. That's what I kept seeing on social media. Michael Kay and Don LaGreca keep saying it's about the money, and I'll remain. It is about the money. It has always been about the money, and it doesn't make it bad.
But listen, I'm not in love with the current climate of baseball, and I can understand the smaller market teams and the family-owned teams, looking at the Mets and saying, "Look they're buying a championship." Listen, I get that, and I wish that wasn't the narrative. But as Yankee fans said all those years ago, when they were getting every big player, hey, they're not breaking any rules. These are the rules. You want to change the rules? Okay, but if these are the rules of engagement, then we're going to try to take advantage of it. And I would say to every Met fan that feels bad, that wants to create a false narrative of he chose us for everything but the money, then why exactly were you celebrating Steve Cohen owning the team? You were celebrating Steve Cohen owning the team because he had money. And that days like this, the Mets would win the day. What? Because of his vibrant personality? That free agents were going to sign with the Mets because he was going to show them all the art that he has purchased over the years? No, we wanted Steve Cohen because we're no longer going to be a small market and a penny pincher like the Wilpons who lost all that money to Madoff. Michael, we celebrated Cohen for a day like that. I'm not going to apologize for it. Yes, it would be great to think that he chose the Mets over everybody else because the Mets are a great team and this is where he's always wanted to be his entire life. But I'm not going to make it up, and I'm not going to apologize for winning the day. This is the reason we wanted Steve Cohen. I'm going to apologize for it, nor should the Yankees have apologized for the 90s. Yes, they had the core four, Michael, but it seemed like every big free agent came here. You think Jason Giambi was here because his dad really was a fan of Mickey Mantle? Or was that just something to dress the press conference up? Everybody chases the money, Michael, and the Mets finally have somebody with money. And now I've got to, A, apologize for it, or B, create some sort of false narrative? No, I'm going to watch SNY this year and enjoy Juan Soto play. Why should I care why he came here?
I think that's a very rational way to think about it, but I think that there's some, there could be a better way to phrase it, survivor guilt with the Mets. They got this great player that they're going to enjoy for the next 15 years, but they wanted to be about more than the money, that he wanted to play at Citi Field. He wanted to play for a forward-thinking franchise. That's what they want. They don't want to just say that it was about the money. And the one thing that I strongly disagreed with Jeff Passan yesterday, well, it's just a $5 million difference. It wasn't just a $5 million difference. It wasn't. The Yankees, to get to within the $5 million, added a 16th year. And the Yankees deal averaged $47.5 million a year. The Mets, $51. It was clearly about the money, but it doesn't make it wrong. Now, one thing that I was thinking about this a lot. I'm reading everything from the winter meetings and from baseball people and also on social media. And there's this narrative out there that drives me nuts. I mean, people are trying, and people that I respect are trying to say, well, you know what? It's such an outrageous contract the Yankees are better off. Stop yourself. You just lost one of the greatest hitters of all time, who you bid $760 million for. It doesn't turn out to be better. It just doesn't. It doesn't. You're wrong. They wanted him, then they lost him. Now lick your wounds, get over it, and try to pivot. But please don't try to paint it. Well, you know what? It could turn out to be a good thing for them. Yeah, if they win the next 5 World Series. But the bottom line is you wanted to get this player.
Right. I mean, listen, there were people that called the show, Michael, that didn't want him. That would rather spend the money on 3 or 4 other players. If you were somebody that had opinion before, then you're cool, man, and you were right. We'll see if you end up being right, but you can't, I want this guy, they've got to sign this guy, Hal's got to fork over the money, and then you don't get him, and then completely change the narrative. That's not right either. But they could turn out to be better, Michael. Certainly the Phillies ended up being better than the Nationals, despite the fact the Nationals lost Harper. Padres were able to get up from losing Soto originally. So there is a world, Michael, where if the Yankees do the right thing, that they could end up being better than the Mets,
but you
win a championship before the Mets. But
you can't.
It's not going to be because of this.
That's right, Peter. Thank you. You can't, it's not because you lost Juan Soto. It's because you pivoted the right way. I don't forget about what the fans say. Forget about what the writers are saying. Forget about what the pontificators say on all the networks. The Yankees bid $760 for him. They wanted him. Yeah. Don't tell me they're better off without him.
Michael, this was not a dog and pony show. They wanted to bring him back.
Absolutely, desperately.
If Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner, like I'm hearing this narrative, they were so thrilled the Mets that Soto took the Mets offer. They didn't want him back. If they didn't want him back, Michael, all they could have did was, hey, listen, we're good. Goodbye. We're going to go spend that money someplace else. They didn't do that because I think they wanted him back. Now, there obviously was a line, and clearly they didn't want to pay that extra year, and they didn't want to pay $760 over 16, if you believe those reports. I mean, obviously they had a line they didn't want to cross, but they were hoping to bring him back. But they can make it so both things could be true. They could be disappointed that they didn't land him, but they can also dust themselves off and try to become a better team. Both of those things can be true.
But you can't you can't be in this business and celebrate the Mets getting Juan Soto and then sloughing off that the Yankees didn't. You can't. If it's great for the Mets, it would have been great for the Yankees to have him back. The pairing of Judge and Soto was, a rare pairing in Major League Baseball history. And you see what they did. One finished first in the MVP, one finished third. It was a great pairing, and it would have been great to have them together for the next 7 years until the end of Judge's contract. So to say that they're probably better off, the Mets paid top dollar, well, the Yankees weren't far behind. So it's not like the Yankees offered $40 million a year and the Mets offered $51. The Yankees offered $47.5, and the Mets offered $51. So that tells you the Yankees really wanted him. You can't sit here and go, well, they might be better. Again, as Peter said, they might be better off, but not because they lost Soto, because they're desperate to now pivot and bring in the right people and build a different team. But you can't lose a player of the caliber of Juan Soto and say you're better off. I think it's disingenuous, and it's just people trying to put lipstick on a pig.
Right. You hope to be better off. You could say it's not the end of the world because there's money to spend. But Passan mentioned this, and you mentioned it too, Michael, that it's not like they're going to be able to spend, $760 million to fill the holes. They were willing to pay that for Soto. Doesn't mean that they're going to now use all of that money to fill in the 3-4 players that they need. They're not going to do that. They're going to spend money, but they're going to rejigger their finances, Michael, to fit the narrative for how they're going to want to address third base, address their rotation, address the outfield. It's not like they're going to go through $50 million at a third baseman. Bregman's not going to make $50 million. Like, they're not going to be going there. So we'll see how it all shakes out. And there's still a very good possibility that the Yankees are going to be an outstanding team. I would expect them to be. And now the Mets, it's going to make for a lot of great baseball. It's going to be the anti-NFL, Peter. It's going to be the anti-football in New York. Both teams embarrass us in the NFL. I think baseball for the next decade could be a lot of fun.
Boone is meeting the media down in Dallas, and about Soto, he said, we wanted the player back. Ownership in the front office did everything we could to make it happen, but it just didn't. Our expectation is to still go out, build, and put together a great team to compete for a championship.
We love to compete.
Compete's a good thing.
You got to compete. You got to find the compete.
According to John Morosi of the MLB Network, Christian Walker at the moment is a bigger priority to the Yankees than Pete Alonso. I'm sorry. There might be people in the Yankee organization that think Alonso is the right pivot. It's not. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You're going to have to give the guy a 6-7 year deal, which takes him to 38 years old. How do you think he's going to age defensively? I don't think that's the deal. And you could say, well, Walker's older. But if you can get Walker for 2 years, it's the perfect signing. And he's a brilliant defender. Pete Alonso, how does he fit? How does he fit? And if the Mets really want him, are you going to outbid them? Do you want to go and try to get Alonso and then have, Steve Cohen wake up one day? I don't want to lose, my fan's favorite player, and then outbid you again. Stay away from that. You don't need that.
I thought Alonso got better defensively, but Walker's won 3 straight Gold Gloves. Now he's 33. And I don't think he's...
I think he's older than that, Don.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to check. I know he's in his 30s. He will be 34 basically opening day.
Right.
So March 28th. So he's older. He's not quite the offensive player, but he can pick it at first. I mean, so for 2 years, Michael, that's the better play. But people want to connect the dots. New York player in Alonso. The Yankees lost Soto. The Mets lose a lot. I understand the symmetry of it. But as much as I'm a Pete guy, I think Walker would be the better play for them.
I do too. The only problem with Walker would be perfect if he was a left-handed batter, but he's a right-handed batter. But he's a much better first baseman than Pete. He hit for a little bit of a higher average, fewer home runs, but still a lot. 20, high 20s.
Now, I think Pete could be better than he was last year.
Now, I don't know if he could at Yankee Stadium. Mostly, he doesn't go to right field, although he did against Milwaukee.
Understood, but I do think he got a little caught up in the contract. He didn't have an awful postseason, as we know, that big home run against the Brewers. But, he can get back to, I think, in the right circumstances, being a 40-plus home run hitter again. He's never going to hit for average. That's not his thing. But last year was an atypical Alonso year, obviously affected by the contract, which obviously is a negative to look at that he could be affected by it, but I think clearly he was. I think he could be a better offensive player than he was in 24.
Now, I was also thinking about this a lot, and I didn't bring this guy up to the guys during our meeting because I wanted to get their visceral reaction. But, it seems like it's a legitimate thing that happened in the negotiations between the Mets and Soto, is that the Mets gave Soto a suite. Mm-hmm. And he wanted a suite from the Yankees. And, what I was thinking the most was, you're signing a contract for $51 million a year. Think about how audacious it is to ask for a suite. Think about it. Now, you can ask for whatever you want, but, people are jumping on the Yankees. Why didn't they give him a suite? Well, let me give you a litany of reasons. Derek Jeter won 5 championships. When they built the new Yankee Stadium, he did not get a suite. You know what he did? He spent $1 million a year so his family could be in a suite. Alex Rodriguez signed the biggest contract in baseball twice. And he paid $400,000 each year to get his family the best 4 seats that were available in Legends. Aaron Judge, mother and father and wife go to every single game. They did not give him a suite. You expect them to give Juan Soto a suite? And if you give anybody a suite, and Steve Cohen's going to see this too, well, then where does it stop? What's going to stop Francisco Lindor from saying, I want a suite? And also to clear things up, the Yankees will put people in suites. But if you want to own that suite and have it belong just to you, each suite at Yankee Stadium costs $1 million. And I do wonder, does that mean that Soto makes $52 million a year? Is that going to go toward the tax? You can't just give somebody a suite. It's got to be part of the payment. But I don't think the Yankees did anything wrong not giving him a suite. After you turned down the biggest players in their recent history.
But we know that those players wanted suites and they were told no? Or did they just go ahead and buy them because didn't bother to ask? I don't know.
I think they know that the Yankees are not giving away their suites.
I applaud it, but when you end up losing a player, I can understand the fans saying, well, why didn't you give him the suite?
But the reason is you can't give him a suite after you didn't give a suite to Aaron Judge.
I know,
listen,
but Aaron Judge stayed.
I get it.
Soto didn't.
Right. And by the way, we all know Judge is a different cat. Like, I really don't think you can apply all the rules to Judge to everybody else. He's just, and frankly, how about this? This is your point, God, Don. Judge is such a different kind of cat. He'd get over them giving the suite to Soto for meant
see, that's
staying.
where I push back a little, Peter.
Oh no!
You're the
if they went to
captain
him,
of the team, and and Soto got a free suite, and he didn't.
But if
you'd have to give him a free suite.
Well, listen, maybe fine. Or you know what? Fine, give it to Soto and Judge.
No.
Or how about this? Can you go have the conversation with Judge? See what he says. He's that much of a team guy. I would think you could talk to him, just get his feelings on.
Well, and also it's the art of the negotiations, right? If Judge gets upset and said, well, you know what, you stayed. So it ended up working out. You took less money to stay with us. You could have went to San Francisco. You wanted to be here. Soto was up for grabs. I mean, these are the games we had to play with him to get him to come back.
Judge was up for grabs too. We didn't know until he signed that he was feeling that way.
But Peter's right, Michael. You read the tea leaves, you realize Judge isn't petty like that. And again, I don't use word petty like to make it seem like Soto's a bad guy for asking. But listen, you all know, like, he's not the guy that's going to ask for that. He's not going to not sign with the Yankees because they didn't give him a suite.
You're going to penalize a guy for being a good dude and then give it to a guy who's going to kick over cans if you don't give it to him. That's not a way to build team unity.
No, it's not. But then you run the risk of not bringing that guy back.
But
now, I don't know if that was a deciding factor or not. But this is the game you play. How bad do you want the player? What are you willing to do to bring that player back? It's all part of that negotiation. Judge didn't have Scott Boras as an agent, right? So the games were completely different. Judge could have wanted to go to the highest bidder, but they probably read the tea leaves and realized because who his agent is, because we drafted him, because he wanted to be a Yankee, we're going to dangle the captaincy. We don't have to play that kind of ball with him to bring him back. But with Juan Soto, a guy we didn't draft, he's already been on 3 teams in his major league career, he's going to go to the highest bidder, we're probably going to have to play that game, right? You play different games with different players. And then at the end of the day, you hope everybody can get along.
See, but I think you play different games with different players, Don. If there's one player that's so far and above everybody else, like the Jordan rules, Aaron Judge is better than Juan Soto.
I know.
The only difference is the age.
But granted, but there'll also be a difference in how much money they make. Like, we could all agree. I agree. I think Peter agrees, too. I think Judge is the better player. But the contract wouldn't read that way. Yes, he's younger, but the contract is going to show that he's actually the better player. That's something that Judge would have had to get over.
I will put it this way. And listen, I understand what you're saying with Cohen, if he felt like that was going to put him over the top. When you're getting a contract worth $765 million, and I'm not going to use this word lightly, to ask for a suite borders on piggish.
Oh, I agree. But do you want him or not? How would the Met fan base feel if he ended up signing with the Red Sox and we found out later that the money was the same, but Cohen didn't want to give up the suite? How do you think the Met fans would react? Would they blame Soto or would they blame Cohen?
Michael, I think we all agree it's sort of piggish.
Oh, yeah, not even sort of, it is.
But that being the reason you say no. Michael, it was piggish to have the Yankee brass fly out to see him.
Right.
All of it was extra. All of it kind of feels unnecessary. But guess what? If that is the price for getting this generational player who, when you have him, doesn't act piggish at all, it seems.
And listen, everything changes, Michael. Derek Jeter was a captain. Derek Jeter missed by 1 vote being an unanimous Hall of Famer, right? He didn't get like a whole section named after him like the judges' chambers. I mean, things change, right? Alex Rodriguez never got that. Thurman Munson and Ron Guidry didn't get that. I mean, it was Judge. He was special. It was a different time. It meant a little different, right? We all looked at it and go, wow, they never did that for anybody else.
Listen, I hear what you're both saying. I really do. But if that was the deciding factor, I'm very comfortable with the Yankees saying, no, that's too much. No. You could buy all the suites with what we're paying you. It's too much.
I don't know. If you're willing to give a guy practically $50 million a year, I just don't. But to your point, Michael, where do you draw the line?
Well, look at the Chiefs, right? Jason Kelce pays for his suite. And he brings in Taylor Swift. That gives more eyeballs to the Chiefs and the NFL than anybody. He pays for all athletes pay for their suites. Because what happens, too, is now you have to wonder, is that part of the payment?
Well, is that
going to be part of the luxury tax?
It isn't a cap sport, because I know in the NBA we talked about.
You can't do that.
Could they fly LeBron James from Manhattan to Westchester every day? They could, but whatever that would cost would go towards the cap.
Right.
So I'm sure that is in cap sports, that if you're going to give something of value, so maybe they don't give Kelsey a suite because it would affect their cap. But baseball, they have the luxury tax, but there's way more wiggle room than it is in a hard cap like they have in the NFL. So maybe they would give Kelsey a suite. I don't know. But you know what? Kelsey's there. Soto, this is what happens when you've got a bunch. If you're going to ask the girl out, and there's 4 or 5 other guys going to ask her out too, what are you going to do special? What are you going to do different to make sure that she goes home with you?
We always wondered, right? What would happen if there's a great player that the Yankees really want? He says, I want to wear a beard. Would the Yankees give up? Well, there's a great player the Yankees wanted that wanted a suite, and the Yankees said no. I think the beard they probably would give into. Mm-hmm. They're not going to give into the suite.
That's funny. I would think the beard would be more. Like, that's like actually about culture. The suite's just about money.
Yeah, money and principle. Money's a big deal. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to John in the Poconos to start it off. John.
Hey, Michael. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. All of your analysis is right on target. Don and you. In terms of, the Yankees really wanted Soto. No doubt about that. I agree with Don. It could be, not a win-win, but the Yankees could come out of this and be a better team. The one thing I want to bring up to you is about Soto, and you reference some things in terms of the luxury box and things like this. Soto, no doubt about it, is a great, great player. But as long as he's on the team with Judge, he's a complimentary player. It was like Ruth and Gehrig, that when Ruth, left, Gehrig became the guy.
But then Joe DiMaggio showed up.
Do you think that had something to do?
I've heard that theory, John, and I just don't agree with it. Because last year he got plenty of shine, despite thank you for the call. Despite supposedly being in the shadow of Judge, I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that at all. Francisco Lindor's a star too.
Well, he's not Judge. But here's where I disagree with you, is that it's a 15-year contract. What does Judge have at the top of his game?
7.
Maybe 5, 7 more. So I'm saying, but to really be the king, he might have 5 years of dominant play. There's a very good chance the final 10 years of that contract, Soto's the man, right? He'll be the man way after Judge is gone. He's still going to be in his prime after Judge is starting to wane. So it's really only the next 3, maybe 5 years he'd have to live in Judge's shadow, but maybe only 3. Soto can actually be getting better, and then Judge can end up being on the decline at 34, 35.
You lived it. He wasn't in the shadow of Judge last year, and Judge won the MVP. He was just as much of a star as Judge. I think that's people trying to squeeze a narrative into something. If he's a guy, right? One of the things, he wanted to play on a winning team. If you're going to be on the winning team, you're not going to be the only star on a winning team.
So that's a basketball thing, not a baseball thing. I think in basketball, who's going to take the last shot, who has the ball in the big spot. Baseball's not like that. Those 86 Mets, a lot of guys shared the spotlight, right? Darrell's probably the best player on the team, but he didn't take any shine away from Gary or Keith or Gooden. All those great Yankee teams, Jeter was a star, but, so was Alex, and, so was Jimmy Key, and so was Mariano Rivera. I think baseball, you could share the spotlight because it's not like somebody's going to be a ball hog. It's not like a wide receiver. I want the ball thrown to me. They all just hit when they're up. They catch what's thrown to them. They pitch when they're scheduled to pitch. So I think they can all live and thrive together.
This feels like one of those things. How people like to say the sports media always wants to make up a story? Mm-hmm. This feels like the fans want to make up a story. The media is telling you what the story is. Everyone knows that the story.
Nobody wants to believe that, though, Peter. Everybody wants to make it something else.
Well, if they listen to this show, Michael, someone posted a clip on the social medias yesterday. Like 2 weeks ago, I said it. It's over. He's going to where the most money is. And the second there was an indication, as Michael reported last week, that the Mets were going to have more money, it was over. Everything else that we add to it, make it a nice story. Sure. By the way, I don't know if you know this. Juan Soto knew how interested the Mets were. You know how easy it would be to add in the suite? Well, why wouldn't he get more? He's just getting more now. But he was going to go where the money was. And as Michael laid out yesterday repeatedly, you add up the money after the opt-in, it's a real significant amount of money. It's $50 million, not nothing.
Absolutely. That's why, and I think Don summed it up so well at the beginning. What's the shame if it's money?
Why do I have to apologize for that?
You don't have to apologize for it. It's the money. Don't make it out, oh, they have a brighter future. Well, the brightest future might be the Red Sox. He didn't go there because they have the best farm system. And if you really want a bright immediate future, then go to the Dodgers for $600 million. It was about the money. And that doesn't make him a bad guy. Goodness gracious, why can't people accept the truth? And Yankee fans have nothing to be upset about. Hausheimer stepped up. But he said, you know what? I'm not gonna win a bidding war with this guy.
But
he's not.
That's what's rare is that usually in these situations it's the Yankees that have the most money. But the world's a lot different now, and it's not about who generates more revenue. Of course, the Yankees generate more revenue than the Mets. But when you let in these hedge fund billionaires to own teams and they dip into their own money, what are you supposed to do about that? Steve Cohen's worth $20 billion. He probably dipped into his own money to make this happen. Hal can't dip into his own money. His money are the Yankees. That's where it is. He's only worth $6 billion, Michael, if he decides to sell the team. Now, the Yankees print money there, but other owners have larger revenue streams. Rogers was able to bid tons of money because they own basically everything up there in Canada. So the Blue Jays are worth a fortune. Yeah, they don't make a tenth of what the Yankees make, but that doesn't matter when they're dipping into their own pocket.
And also, I think that Canada being Canada, that Soto didn't want to play there. With the the money being worth a different amount or whatever, and where you're going to live and things like that. And also, if they signed him, they might not be able to bring back Vladimir Guerrero. And then what's he left with? He's left with a bad team.
But if they beat everybody else out, he probably would have made all that work.
Yeah. I think that they would have had to really beat people out, like really beat them out. I think the Mets really beat everybody out. Nobody in baseball, no one in sports, other than Steve Ballmer, is going to win a stare down with Steve Cohen when it comes to money. No one. Steve Ballmer can buy and sell Steve Cohen. But unfortunately, or fortunately for the NBA, he's in the cap league. And I told people this. I told people it, and I don't know if these people ever want to step forward and admit it, when they were trying to push through Steve Cohen to get approved for the Mets. I told somebody in power, you guys are letting the fox in the hen house. You're going to get destroyed by this guy. Nah, he's going to play nicely. No, he's not. He never played nicely when it came to art. He overbid everybody. If he wanted a Picasso, he got it. And you know one of the owners who wanted to stop it, who said to Rob Manfred, do not let him in. It will change the sport forever. Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
He got approved by 2 votes. And the Yankees were one of the teams that approved him. And now you're seeing what life is with Steve Cohen. And you're seeing what life is with the Guggenheim partners. Once you let in fabulously wealthy people that are involved in hedge funds, and they're going to outbid you all the time.
And the problem, Michael, is that you're going to have teams that are handed down, like the Steinbrenners probably won't give up the team. They'll hand it down. But the price of these teams are so expensive. Who else is going to buy these teams but these types of billionaires, Michael? The moms and pops, that's over now. Unless they hold on and just pass it down generation to generation. But if Hal didn't have family to hand it down to and he decided to sell it, who do you think would buy the Yankees? It would probably be a Steve Cohen-esque type guy that would have all this money to dip into.
It would be Jeff Bezos. It would be somebody like that.
So you can let these guys, you keep the wolves out of the barn for so long, and then eventually you need them. Because how else are you going to sell these franchises for $4, $5, $6 billion? Who has that kind of money anymore?
Yeah, it's a different world. Once you let in Steve Cohen with his $22 billion fortune, you're done.
And listen, Major League Baseball can cry all they want about that. Maybe if he was trying to buy the Kansas City Royals, it'd be a different story. I don't think Major League Baseball minds that Juan Soto is staying in New York. That helps their bottom line, too, to be able to have a big market team be good. It helps to have the Dodgers be good, the Yankees be good, the Mets be good, the Phillies be good. We all talk about, it's nice that it's a nice little story when the Royals play the Brewers in the World Series or when the Rangers play the Diamondbacks in the World Series. But is that moving the needle, Michael?
No, but I think all 5 teams that were bidding, baseball would have been fine with him going anywhere of those 5. Let's take some phone calls. Dave in Westchester. Dave.
Hi, Dave.
How you doing? Yankee fans shouldn't be upset at all. Hal did the best he could. He did a great job. And at the end of the day, when the smoke all clears, Soto's going to be watching the Yankees in the World Series again. There's one team in the American League, Baltimore. The rest of the American League is terrible. The Yankees are going to get a couple good hitters, a good pitcher, a good ace. The Mets, they have to go through the Phillies, the Braves, the Padres, and the Dodgers. The Mets are not in the World Series automatically. All these Yankee fans think they're just in the World Series. And I really don't believe it's all about the money. I would say like 85%. The guy does want to win. I don't think he just wants to go to a team and lose every single game. I don't think he wants to go to the White Sox.
Well, yeah, but
I don't believe
but that wasn't his choice, though.
But that wasn't on the table.
He's going to a good team. He's not going to a team that's horrible.
But all of these teams were good teams,
except for the Blue Jays.
Except for the Blue Jays, who have potential, but the White Sox weren't in there. There was no team that bad in there.
But this is
I understand. I get you. You're right.
But as a fan, you're right because fans only think about the immediate. He just signed a 15-year contract. He's 26 years old. He is going to be a dominant player, I would think, for at least the next 7-8 years. So you think the Braves and the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Padres are always going to be good in those 7-8 years? I mean, I would think.
But there might be other teams in the National League.
Well, you know what? There might be other teams in the American League, too. Well, wait a minute. Let's see what the Yankees do. I mean, what if Baltimore all of a sudden figures it out? They were a 100-win team 2 years ago, made the playoffs back-to-back years. So they might get better. I'm
not saying the Yankees are automatically in the World Series.
Nobody's automatically.
In my mind, they have a better chance of getting to the World Series than the Mets.
Right, in 2025.
Who are Yankee fans, in 2020, maybe 2026 too. You don't know what's going on.
But you only can honestly look at, even before the Yankees and the Mets aren't done, is to say, I think the Yankees have an easier path to the World Series in 2025. I would agree with that. But beyond 2025, he just inked a 15-year contract. Now, do I think that in years 13, 14, and 15, he's going to be anywhere near as good a player as he is now? Of course not. But, Michael, I would think over the next at least 6-7 years, he is going to be a dominant player. How do we know that the Mets aren't going to be the team to beat in a couple of years? Yes, in 2025, the Yankees have an easier path. We at least think. But it's not like it's going to be the Braves and the Phillies and the Padres and the Dodgers all 8-9 of those years.
Well, one thing that we have to pump the brakes on, I think that the American League is an easier path. But the Yankees, as constituted right now, they're not even a playoff team. We have to see what they're going to do. They're going to do stuff.
Hey.
But it's almost like when Rex Ryan said we're going to make the Super Bowl before the draft, before they even put their team together. You remember way back when, Don. So, you could say, it's not an arduous road like it is in the National League. But if the Yankees go into the season with the team they have now, you think they're a playoff team? Everybody has to relax. They got a lot to do.
We had a few people on. There was somebody yesterday that said, hey, remember, even with Soto and Judge, there was a lot of losing going on because it was only Soto and Judge. Well, now you just lost half of that. So, there's a very good chance the Yankees are going to be able to plug in the holes and be a really good team next year. But if they don't get the right players and it becomes the Aaron Judge show and they're walking them, there could be an issue here. So I do think they have an easier path than the Mets do because the National League is loaded. But I don't know beyond this year or next year that's always going to be the case. Michael, he just signed a 15-year contract. I don't think he was only looking at 2025. Plus, he probably thinks to himself, the Mets went to Game 6 against the Dodgers last year. Now I'm joining the team. So I think I can make them better. The way he elevated the Yankees from an 82-win team to a 96-win team. So I'm sure he's got the confidence to say, why can't we win since I'm on that team?
The Yankees have signed Max Fried to an 8-year deal, $218 million. We did the math, and that comes out to $27 million a year. And considering he's going to go into the season at the age of 31, I think what the Yankees did was they added that 8th year to make it less for the luxury tax. It's probably a 7-year, $218 million deal, and that would make the luxury tax more. That would make it a $30 million deal. So this way, it goes down to 27 with the extra year. And by that time, do you really expect to get anything out of Max Fried? And it is the highest contract ever given to a left-handed pitcher. That's even higher than CC Sabathia.
Wow.
And, yeah, he'll be 31 January 18th, so at the start of the season he'll be 31. He's a 2-time All-Star. Not a ton of innings in his career.
No, he's not an innings eater at all.
No, but also, I mean, he's not a lot of mileage on him either. So, hey, we'll see.
Do you remember the show that broke the fact that the Yankees had a very good Zoom call with him?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Was it this show?
It was this show. Yeah.
But the one thing I don't know how you felt about it. What Buster said that the Yankees, they wanted Soto, but they're cool they didn't get him, or whatever exactly. I'm paraphrasing what he said. I'm just, you wonder. Oh, are you in or are you out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Michael, like this whole idea, well, they were in, but if they're okay if they didn't get them. I mean, is that a reality, or is that just kind of how you play it when you don't get the player that you want?
I think it's how you play it.
Because you want him, you're offering all this money. He could have taken your $760 million over 16 years, right? I mean, so you were in on the guy. You were in on it till the very bitter end. So you can't, I think it's kind of disingenuous to make it seem like, no, but we're good. Well, we wanted this guy. We went to the mat for the guy. We didn't get him, but we're all good. We're just going to pivot to all these other things. Well, if all the other things have a potential of making you a lot better, then why wasn't that your plan A all along? I mean, you didn't have to be in on it unless there was just some kind of grand scheme, Michael, that the plan was never to get Soto. But from a PR standpoint, make it seem like you were all in, but knowing that you weren't going to get him. I mean, that's dangerous, too, because what if they called your bluff and did accept your money?
Yeah.
But,
I think they wanted him, and I think they're just trying to send out, some relaxing signals that, hey, the world did not end because we didn't get him. Of course they wanted him, and I said at the beginning of the show, for anybody to say, well, they're better off not having him. No, you're not better off not having Juan Soto. You're not. Sorry. Juan Soto is one of the great hitters of all time. So you're not better off.
And you went to the World Series.
They have a chance to pivot.
And remember, you went to the World Series for the first time in 15 years with Juan Soto. So it's not like he didn't help you. Now, I do think they can get up from it. All I'm saying is, Michael, is that I think they can get up from it. But let's not make it seem like that they're all good with losing one of the best players in baseball.
No,
they're going to pivot. They were talking.
It's false.
They were going to. They talked to Fried as their plan B, and then they're going to make moves and all that. But the narrative that this was the plan all along, or they're good. Yeah, they can be good. But they still lost out on something I think they really wanted and really coveted.
Well, one thing they did with getting Fried, they kept him away from the Red Sox. Red Sox desperately wanted him, so maybe that's why they went to the 8th year. Here's the Yankee starting rotation now at this moment, and it's seven players. Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, the Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, Nestor Cortez, Marcus Stroman. Now, this makes a lot of sense if you could get rid of the contract of Marcus Stroman. Maybe you take somebody else's contract that they're looking to dump. So if you could add Marcus Stroman in a deal with the Cubs where you get Cody Bellinger, then all of a sudden Bellinger, costs maybe $10 million a year rather than the 28 or 27 that he's due this season. So I think that's imperative, because if you're going to pay Fried 27, you play Rodon, I think, is by 26, and Garrett Cole's 36. It's a very expensive rotation. Nestor Cortez will make 9 his last year of arbitration, and Marcus Stroman is going to make 18. I'm sure that Brian is going to really be trying to trade Stroman, but I think it's hard to trade Stroman and get anything good back. You've got to get something back that a team wants to get rid of money. So this would save the Cubs money. It would save them about $10 million on Bellinger. It would make Bellinger very affordable, and the Yankees just upgraded their rotation because, no disrespect to Marcus Stroman, Max Fried is better.
Yeah, he is. And the Braves lose them, so things are Braves lose players, Michael, and they still seem to find a way to stay really good. They lose free.
Are you saying, I'm sorry, real quick, are you saying that by better than Stroman, that means you'd want to have him in your rotation in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Don, that should be the standard if you're going to get a new player for $30 million a year, right?
Of course.
And, we talk about pivoting. That was a pivot by the Yankees getting Stroman last year because they thought they were going to get Yamamoto. So the Yankee pivots have not historically been great. We talk about losing Cano and what they got in that pivot. Losing Yamamoto, you pivot to Stroman. And Stroman gave you some innings, but he couldn't get into a playoff game. And for the first round, he wasn't even on the roster. So, that would be a very heavy salary to pay a long reliever in the bullpen because right now he doesn't crack that rotation unless there's an injury. 1-800-919-3776. We'll talk about it. If you just turned on the radio, Yankees have signed Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million. Doing the math, that's $27 million a year for the soon-to-be 31-year-old left-hander, formerly of the Atlanta Braves. So the Yankees just signed Max Fried. He's from Santa Monica. He was drafted by the Padres in the first round in 2012, 7th pick. Ended up with the Braves last year, 11-10, 3.25, 168 strikeouts, 174 in the third innings. Started 29 games. For his career, 73-36, which is a great record. 3.07 ERA, 151 games started, 168 games total. About a strikeout per inning, just a smidge below that. And the Yankees signed him to a massive 8-year deal. 8 years. So as Don said, he's not an innings eater. Last year, 174 in the third, which you know what? That's about what starters give you now. The year before, 77 and 2/3. In 22, 185, which is excellent. The year before, 165.2. In the COVID year, 56, and 2019, 165 and 2/3. Now, he is a 3-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time All-Star, and won the World Series with the Braves in 2021.
And was 2-2 in that run to the World Series in 21. However, not great numbers in the postseason. 2-5 with a 5.10 earned run average, allowing 82 hits over 67 innings and 10 home runs. So, that's important to look at, too, because that's where you're going to want him to be big in the postseason as well. So I guess this is your number 2, right? Or is Rodon still, in theory, your number 2?
I think it's your number 2, but, in a perfect world, you sandwich Rodon and Fried, the two lefties, around the righty Cole. But, if Cole's healthy, he's going to start on opening day. But I guess as time moves on, you could maneuver that one will go before Cole, one will go after him. So if you keep Nestor Cortez, that's another lefty. I know the Yankees love Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil coming off a great season. But they might have to use Luis Gil if they want to make a big trade for a guy like Kyle Tucker. I don't know if that Tucker deal is going to happen. You heard Buster say that he didn't think that the Astros would pull the trigger on that. But the Yankees, this is their first pivot after not getting Soto. They decided to get their rotation better. Tim Healy, who covers the Mets, said the Mets were never in on Fried, and they are not in on Corbin Burns either.
Well, it just seems, Peter, like their philosophy is they're not going to give long-term contracts to pitchers.
By the way, I'm not mad at that philosophy.
Now,
I don't get excited when I hear about 7-year deals with starting pitchers these days.
How about 8?
Even 8, Michael.
Well, you know what? They gave a 9 to Cole, so.
Well, but Cole's Cole.
Well, true. Fried's not at that level for sure.
Fried's a really good player. He's certainly not Cole. Listen, it's something. It's something. Now you guys would agree this is only step 1 of a pivot.
Oh yeah,
of course.
They got to get a first baseman. They've got to get a second baseman. They've got to get an outfielder. I would say though that Max Fried is probably your favorite player now in New York.
Me?
Yeah.
Why is
You've
that?
always wanted a nice Jewish player to root for. He's a Jewish player to root for.
Oh, wait, hold on. You didn't say that.
I thought you knew.
Now it does sound familiar. I'd forgotten about that. Oh, this is a great deal for the team. This is just smart. You know what? You said 8 years?
8 years, yeah.
I'd have given him 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. Now, Peter will see. I will come on the new show just to talk about Fried with Peter.
No, well, no need because no need because we got Fried. I'm gonna make a phone call see if I can.
You know
get on
what?
the show.
That actually rhymes. No need. We got Fried.
What do you think? They give these jobs to chimps? I know what I'm doing.
So you actually meant that? That wasn't an accidental brilliance.
Don,
Wow.
did you think that was accidental, Don?
No, he knows what he's doing, Michael.
Jeez Louise, Papa Cheese.
Let's go to Richard in Manhattan. Richard.
Oh, great. Here he is.
Michael, Don, Peter, all the Jewish pitchers are lefties. Koufax, Holtzman, Fried. You ever think of any right-handed pitchers?
I'm going to have to think about that, Richard.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, Michael, I don't want to say I'd rather have Michael King over Max Fried, but that's me.
Wow.
Michael King.
Let it go.
You saying goodbyes, you know what it reminded me of? Dorothy, before she goes up in the balloon, saying goodbye to the Tin Man, the Lionhearted, and the Scarecrow. You saying goodbye to Don and
Well, that's why I
Peter
say
like
to
that.
Don, you know, I'll miss you the most. You're my favorite. He's the Scarecrow.
Right,
That's just how Dorothy said it to the Scarecrow at the end.
Well, yeah, that's the reference, sure.
Michael, you got to follow the lead of Lucille Ball. She had 3 incarnations of her TV show.
Right.
First, it was Here's Lucy. I Love Lucy. Then Here's Lucy, the Lucy Show. You're going to have your name, a new name. Maybe Here's Michael K. or the new Michael K. Show, something different.
I like it.
Okay.
You like? All
Here's
right.
Michael. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, here's my.
All right.
Yeah, that works.
Listen,
yeah.
fellas, bad 6 weeks in New York. I mean, it's tempered by the Mets getting Soto, but for the Yankees, Jets, Giants, and Rangers, since Judge dropped the ball, it's been a bad 6 weeks in New York. Very bad. When you think of it, the best thing that could have happened to New York City, and you guys talked about what's good for New York City about a month ago. This is good. You split the superstars up. Judge on one, Soto on the other. So it's fantastic for New York City. That's what I think on that. And lastly, I take this approach, and Michael, I got to commend you. You said this in June. You said Soto's going for the money. Whatever reason he went, you were 100% right. In my mind, in all my years, I never thought the Yankees would lose a player that they had. I don't consider him a free agent. I'm the only person in the world that thinks of Juan Soto as a New York Yankee. He is just as much a Yankee, in my opinion, as Don Mattingly was, as Don Clendenin was a New York Met, as Charlie Hayes was a New York Yankee, as all these guys contributed to World Series or World Series title teams. So he was that good. I never can consider in my mind that a guy would leave the New York Yankees just for money like that. Reggie was close, but he was 35, 36, so it was 50-50. And by the way, he left a great player, Winfield, so this is similar, Soto leaving Judge like that. But I never thought a player would leave a perfect situation. He had it. I think he's going to be exposed in right field. City Field, it's a bigger place to play. Plus, he doesn't have the short right field porch. Yankee Stadium was made for him. Everything was there for him. So I don't know. I hope he does well there. I don't want to ill will. I love the Mets too. So, but I think he might have made a mistake for his career. We'll see.
Well, Richard, I just checked.
It's always a pleasure.
Jason Marquis, Jewish pitcher, right-handed.
He already literally had hung up on you by the time you tried to give him the answer.
How do you know Jason Marquis was Jewish, Don?
Because I looked up Jewish pitchers.
Oh,
He's doing
And
the
Jason
work.
Marquis came up right-handed. I went and did a little bit of investigating, and he was, or is, he's still alive. He's not a major league pitcher anymore. From Staten Island, and
he was
Jewish.
a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the drop there of little Marco asking what a fraud is?
What is fraud?
Apparently, fraud is Richard.
Are you
I didn't
making
know
fun
that.
of the way my 7-year-old speaks?
Well, that's how 7-year-olds speak, man.
I know, but you...
That's how I baby talk with my wife and my dog.
You know what, Don?
I think we're kind of making fun of him.
God bless you.
Making fun. That's what little kids talk
The Blue
like.
Jays are finalizing, this is according to Jeff Passan, Blue Jays are finalizing a
Well, they're
trade
giving an inaugural address.
to acquire 3-time Gold Glove winning second baseman Andres Jimenez from the Cleveland Guardians. Sources tell ESPN. So that takes away one. And by the way, he is really a good defender. That takes away a landing spot for Gleyber Torres.
Maybe the Yankees bring him back, Michael.
Oh. I don't know.
Well, now you hope they don't.
I mean, if he wants to come back for like $8 million, I guess okay. But I don't see that happening.
Well, if there's no landing spot, then he's going to have to take whatever he can get.
You would think so. You would think so. Let's go to Andrew in Medford. Andrew.
Yeah, hi, Michael. Hey, Don. Hey, Peter.
How you doing?
Hey.
Good. How you guys
Good.
doing? Listen, I want to. Obviously, I heard about Max Fried being signed, which is good, especially that he was referred to by a guest on your show as a Jimmy Key type pitcher.
Right.
So it's not bad. But the other areas I want to address is outfield, because right now they only have Dominguez and Judge out there. Do you see the Yankees signing Santander? Because he's a switch hitter with power, and they need to fill in that Soto spot somewhat. And first base, you go with a Bellinger maybe, and that trade might work with Stroman, because Stroman's pitched already with Chicago and pitched okay over there. And you need another lefty in the lineup as well. So I'm just asking what you guys think of
I
that.
think that Santander is interesting, Andrew, but he's not a great right fielder. And that, again, puts Judge in a bad situation. He should be in right field. I don't think Santander can cover left field at Yankee Stadium. But he is a switch hitter, and the Yankees can't get too right-handed, which is certainly something they have to worry about. I think Bellinger solves a lot of problems. He could play center. You tell Dominguez, hey, this is the winter, or you learn to play left at a good clip. And then Bellinger can also be an option at first base if you don't sign Christian Walker. Let's go to Mike in Orlando. Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. What's up?
Good. First off, you guys are going to be heavily missed together. I've always said that any combination of the three of you guys is the best sports show talk you can listen to, but all three of you together is unbeatable.
Thank you.
I'm going to look forward to listening to both shows, but you'll be very missed. I've listened to you guys in different states through the app and everything, and you guys for years have been a big part of everybody's life. So,
thank you.
But to the Yankees. Specifically, Michael, now after this Fried signing, what positions do you think are non-negotiable? Do they need an outfielder, a first baseman, an infielder, and a reliever? And which one's the most likely to come from the minors?
Well, the infielder, I think, would come from the minors. They do love Caleb Durbin a lot, and Boone even said that yesterday, so he slides in at second. I think they need a first baseman, unless you're going to go with Ben Rice. I'm not sure that they're committed to going with Ben Rice, and they definitely need an outfielder. Now, they're always clever with their maneuverability when it comes to the bullpen, but maybe they can entice Kirby Yates or Tanner Scott, and this way you have Luke Weaver kind of as a Swiss Army knife in the outfield. They need a lot of things. They really do. That's why I laugh when people say, the Yankees, they'll go right to the World Series. No. They have a good team. The American League is a very forgiving league to get to the World Series. You saw last year the Yankees beat the Guardians and the Royals. So they've got a lot of holes at the fill, which they're trying to do. But how many are going to come from trades? How many are going to come from free agency? And now free agency is, it's bordering on lunacy. That a 31-year-old pitcher gets an 8-year deal. But, again, I'll quote Andrew Friedman, if you're going to be rational in free agency, you're always going to finish third.
But that's why I'm kind of interested to see if the Mets are really bucking the trend and are going to try to find pitching at a discount the way they did with their pitchers last year. Catch a guy on a 1-year deal, pitches well, and then you can kind of evaluate from there. Locking up these long-term deals, that Fried, it's not going to end well.
No, usually he doesn't.
He's going to be 31 years old. He's going to be pitching in his late 30s, but that's what they had to do to get the deal done, Michael. And so you're going to have to do those things. And listen, they could bite the Mets too. They've got Senga if he stays healthy, but you catch these lightning in a bottle, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and you're scrambling. But I guess they feel like that's how they want to handle these pitchers, because they all get hurt, and the contracts just do not age well.
A friend of mine just texted me, the Yankees might have to look at, maybe upgrading third base and moving Chisholm to second, because with a left-hander like Fried, you're getting a lot of ground balls to the left side. And although Chisholm's very athletic, I don't think he's a great third baseman.
No.
I think he's much more suited to second. And I don't want to see Chisholm in the outfield, which is what the Marlins did. Huh? He's much more comfortable in the infield.
Still work to be done, but the winter meetings just started, so.
Nick in Astoria.
Hey, Nick.
And I wish you guys all the best of luck in your endeavors, your future endeavors. But I wanted to ask you, Michael, who do you think is better, Corbin Burnes or Max Fried?
Probably Burnes.
Burns, yeah. I was hoping for Burns, and I think the only way the Yankee fans could take this loss of Soto was if they got Burns, maybe a Santander, Cody from the Cubs, because if they start the season with LeMahieu or Cabrera in their starting lineup, they're going to be hurting. But one more thing, please. No one's really said this. Only Mark's Feinstein on Major League Baseball mentioned it. I think, yes, Soto went for the money. He went for the suites and all that kind of stuff, security. But I think he just wanted to be the man, his team. With the Yankees, he was always going to be second fiddle to Jets. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we talked about this earlier, and I respectfully disagree. I don't think he's that type of guy. He had a lot of shine with the Yankees. He and Judge split the spotlight. He was just as much the man as Judge. So I don't buy that. I mean, he's going to have to split the spotlight with Lindor. But if all he cares about is winning, don't you want great players on the team? I don't think he's that guy. I don't. Everybody wants to apply that narrative. I don't think it had anything to do with it.
No, and even if it did, Michael, he'd only have to play second fiddle for a handful of years.
Right.
And then by the time he got into the fourth or fifth year of his 15-year deal, then he become the man because Judge will be in his mid-30s by then and maybe on the decline. And there's Soto at 30, maybe just hitting his stride. So it would only be brief.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What day do we stop having the conversation?
About?
I think there was more to it. It wasn't just the money. It was something else. What day do we stop?
Well, I don't know if it's going to stop before the final show we do together. And I think that in May, when the Yankees host the Mets, it's going to be...
Come back again.
It's going to be nonstop.
Peter, I think that narrative will end once we get to opening day, and then it'll just become, did he make the right decision? And if the Yankees are better in 25, he made the wrong decision. Then in 26, if the Mets are better, then he made the right decision. It's always going to be very fluid. But once he starts playing, nobody's going to think about the money and all that. He'll be a Met.
But nothing's going to change the fact that it was about the money. It's never going to change, guys.
Now, what the caller just said, and I said I thought Burns was better than Fried, but it's not by a lot. So it's not like you really, you settle for somebody a lot lower. I mean, they're close. I mean, Fried's an excellent pitcher. So they decided to go Fried rather than Burns. It's always better to have a left-hander at Yankee Stadium than a righty.
Right. They've essentially kind of had the same career. Burns has a career WAR of 17.1. And let me.
How old is he, Don?
He's 30. He's like a year younger. He's like less than a year younger. And Fried will be 31, as we said on opening day, and his career WAR is 24.1. Now he's pitched a little longer. So and as far as the postseason is concerned, I think Burns is like 1 and 2 in the postseason, not the same amount as the Braves with Fried. But it's a little younger in Burns, but it's close. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's not like they took a second-class citizen. He's really good.
I wouldn't be surprised if Burns gets a bigger contract.
I think he will. I believe that he will, for sure. And he's also represented by Boris. Maybe the Yankees didn't want to go down that road again. I have no idea. Let's go to Mac and Randolph. Mac.
Hey, guys. Love you guys. Sad this show is ending, but very excited to see what you guys do because I know it will be great.
Thanks.
You already made it great. Like this week, making guest choose is some of the funniest stuff I've heard, so I think that's great.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say real quick, can't stand Soto more because of his reaction after the World Series as a Yankees fan was just so, disappointing. You just lost a huge game, and he seemed, emotionless about it. That just, to me, that was just kind of I don't mind him taking the more money on this deal, but just kind of from that point, I was I don't know, I found it distasteful a little bit.
Well, good news. You don't have to deal with it ever again.
But here's the thing. In a world where everybody was dissecting everything that he said, the way he acted, Mac, was probably a little bit of a message like, hey, I'm not coming back.
Well, yeah, look, that's fine. Just, I don't know. He could have just...
he didn't have to do... I know what you're saying, Mac. He didn't have to do it after Game 5 of the World Series.
I mean, Cole did it.
He waits next day.
Cole did, Don, absolutely. Cole did it. The Astros lost the World Series, and Cole came out for an interview in a Scott Boras Corporation hat, not an Astro hat.
Guys,
wow, that's something.
I got to tell you, not to defend Soto because I get it, because I'm a fan, and it would bother me too. But at the end of the day, it's a business, guys. They're never going to care as much as you do.
But you know what? there was ways to get out of that. Don.
No, I get it.
We
but
just suffered a real loss. I'll talk about this another time. I don't want to talk about it.
All this should do is make people love Judge so much.
Yeah.
Man. I hope it just makes you love Aaron Judge, because he is just about the only guy. You guys all call up and you give I've been a Yankee fan since 1938, and I remember this and I remember that, and the fact of the matter is 95% of them don't care. But guess what? The star of your team for the next several to many years deeply cares about it the way you do. That's pretty cool.
That's why New York has always loved the homegrown guy. Because let's face it, the free agents are mercenaries. He's a merc. He went to the highest bidder. And like Michael said time and time again, and nothing wrong with that, he made his decision. He is one of the greatest players we've seen in our generation. He's going to play on his fourth team. All right, so that's what he's chosen. Judge cared about Peter being a forever Yankee. That was something he cared about. Soto didn't.
Can we push back, though? Like earlier, Danny said everybody would do the exact same thing. I still don't think that's fair.
Well, Judge didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, Judge didn't. There are guys who make sacrifices.
Most people would, though.
Most people, Michael, but there are some people who
Don did?
There are a lot of people who go, hey, this is enough money. I'd like to get to do this. But let's be honest, Don, that was one of the toughest Danny calls in years.
Well, the biggest thing was just misquoting Die Hard. He never said he was a bank robber. He said he was a thief. I'm like an exceptional thief. And now he moved on to kidnapping, so you better be nice.
I didn't want to make this public, but, Don wanted to. We wanted to pair me and Don together in the 1-3 spot, but they offered him more money, so he left.
That's what happened.
Yeah, Don did. Okay.
Now, but the Joni and Chachi.
Yeah,
he basically wrapped up the call. He called to say, "Love you guys, love the show. Sad you're breaking up. Hey, listen, hope it works out, but usually the next iteration's terrible." That's what he said.
Yeah, because they had 17 episodes of
that
Joni
was
Loves Chachi.
Oh, I thought it was a couple of years. I'm sorry.
No, well, they had 2 seasons, and they pulled the plug early in the second season because they realized they made a huge mistake. But you could have went Frasier with Cheers. You could have gone to, I know Peter's not a fan, but Young Sheldon was hugely successful. They're now on to another spinoff. I don't know if you've been watching.
I have not watched that one.
It is actually pretty funny. But, he decided to go with, listen, Danny's going to stick with Michael. That's it. And Peter, I blame you for it.
I think he'll hang with you guys, too.
I think he'll hang for whoever's going to pick up the phone, quite honestly.
He'll do each one. Joel Sherman reporting Max Fried received a full no-trade clause. Contract has no opt-outs or deferrals.
I hate those no-trades. From a Ranger standpoint, they don't age well either.
But you know what? You can always get some. Although you can't get Mika, you usually can get somebody to give up on it. Look, the Cardinals are going to do that with Arenado.
Yeah, it's very awkward. And for a union that pays attention, Michael, it's probably even worse in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Threatening to waive guys and and dangle and stuff. Hey, listen, you negotiated. I guess it's worth something to you. They just don't like them.
We have a big show tomorrow. We have Mike Lupica. We have Dan Orlovsky. We'll have the latest from the winter meetings.
I'll be from Buffalo.
That's right. You're flying tonight, right?
That's right.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you.
Yeah, safe travels, Donnie.
Study the roster, Don. Don't go in unprepared. That's not your way.
I don't feel comfortable doing that. Going in unprepared.
Oh, good. Absolutely. Anyway, it's going to be great. Billy Joel's going to send us off.